everybody? Welcome to Krystal Tini TV. Today we have Beau Pinto, who's a content creator, entrepreneur, and freedom advocate from Toronto, Canada. His mission is to free humanity mentally, physically, and financially through his organization, The Free Humans. They're currently building an organic superfood distribution network across North America and Europe. And I need to pick his brain about everything because that's really where we all should be at this point, having control of our food supply. So, Beau Pinto, I'm super excited to have you today. Welcome to Krystal Tini TV.
Super exciting to meet you because, you know, I've been watching your show and your Instagram for so long. And I have so many friends that when I told them that I was going to do your show, they were like, no way, no. And I was like, yes.
Yeah. It still like freaks me out because when I go places, a lot of times people are like, are you Krystal Tini? I'm like, oh my God, this is not fucking happening to me. Like, and not because it's a bad thing or anything, but it's just a weird thing because I've been in entertainment for so long and my recognition is not from that. It's from something completely that came out of left field. So it's really very interesting.
Yeah, it's pretty surreal, isn't it? You know, like, but I think in particular in my community, at least in Canada, you know, the way that things are around here, we've kind of had to form communities in that way that were, you know, freedom minded or however you want to call it. And so, your content has absolutely popped up on numerous occasions.
When everything was going on with the truckers in Canada, like I was posting every day about Canadian stuff and people actually thought I was Canadian at one point. I was like, I'm not from Canada, but I was like, I'm sure you can, you know, agree with this. The energy was insane, even across the internet. Like when the truckers convoy, like everybody was like so united and just so pumped up. We're just like, oh my God, this is the coolest thing ever, because it really was like, it was just so neat to just witness all this and your unity and everything and all the noise you guys are making across the world. It was just so cool because so many people were just so defeated for so long. And then you have this whole thing that unfolded there. And
yeah, totally. I mean, like the energy was insane. And if it was like the first time we had a voice in a long time, you know, and, you know, I always say that there's two types of laws, right? There's the laws that, you know, in the legal world, which is really not a law because a law is immutable, meaning it can't be changed, right? Like I can't pass a bill tomorrow to stop gravity from happening, right?
Yeah.
But there's also the natural laws, and one of those natural laws is free will and freedom. And when you start to restrict those things, you're gonna just see you know, a backlash that, you know, it's like the power of God coming out of people, right? And that's what was happening with that trucker movement. It was just people were fed up, and, you know, they tried to spin it in so many different ways. Like, you know, I have family members that said, I can't believe you're supporting that stuff, you know, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, wow, you guys are really like, you just, you know, they could have been doing, you know, anything, and they would have said, oh, it was a bunch of racists, you know. So but it was very powerful to see the people there, and also quite unfortunate when, you know, things kind of started to fall apart and what was kind of happening to people at the same time. So
because it's unbelievable that could even happen, you know, because the end of it was like a cliffhanger, just watching all this unfold, and we're like, oh my God, they're freezing bank accounts and all this stuff, and it's like that became real so fast. And the way that they tried to paint the picture and spin it, like there's way too many of us, first of all, now in this freedom movement. There's millions of us, if not a few billion across the world, that are like, yeah, this shit is just not going to fly anymore. So there's too many of us spreading the truth. And then they're trying to paint the other picture that it was racist and all this other crazy shit that they come up with. And there, you know, there is just too many of us, but it was very scary to watch because we're like, these people are such heroes, like doing all this stuff and standing up to this, you know, totalitarian system and regime that they want to bring in communism. And how the hell are people not seeing this at this point?
Yeah.
You know, so where do you fall into all this? Because a lot of times when people chat with me, they're like, how did you start doing this? Like, what made you, so what was your pivotal moment that you're just like, all right, it's time for me to, you know.
Well, I'll be honest, I gave them 2 weeks to flatten the curve. And after that 2 weeks, something was up with me, right? I was like, something's not right. So prior to getting into the industry I'm in now, which is I'm in the like organic superfoods industry,
Yes.
And stuff like that. So, but prior to that, I was in social media, and what I do is I teach people the science of influence. And the one thing I've learned over the last decade or more doing what I do is that advertising really is nothing short of just brainwashing. And like it's an old science, right? It goes back to Edward Bernays, and this is over 100-year-old science where they used to call it propaganda. Then they were like, oh, that doesn't sound good, so let's call it PR, right?
Yeah.
Relations, right? But they have it down to a science, and I say that the people in Facebook and people in these big news corporations, they don't just have marketers working for them; they have neuroscientists and psychologists working. So they understand how the brain works. So my goal in talking to people and doing my trainings was always to educate people on what that was. So for me, I teach this concept where basically there's a formula for influence. And the formula for influence is very simple. It's repetition multiplied by emotion over time equals influence, right? So the more you repeat something multiplied by how much emotion is behind it, and the more you do that over time, is going to basically create influence, because every single time something is repeated, a neural strand is created. And depending on the size of the emotion will be the size of that neural strand. Right. And our neural strands are kind of like muscles in our brain. So the more reps you do, the stronger those pathways become. All of our choices and decisions are based on those pathways, not based on logic. We think we make decisions based on logic. We don't. They're made on those pathways. You can think something logically, but then your body does something different, right? That's why addiction is what it is, because people say, I know I shouldn't be doing this, but then they do it anyway, because a lot of the times the chemicals from drugs or whatever they're doing creates much bigger pathways than they need to be, right? So when I first started seeing the news articles on what was going on, I noticed that they were really amplifying the emotions around everything, and that they were repeating the same images over and over and over.
And terminology, and social distancing, and 6 feet, like over and over and over. Yeah, go ahead.
Taking those buzzwords and just repeating them so that they could create those patterns in those brains. And then also saying that any opposing thought was like really negative and this really like emotional stuff. Like, if you don't do this, your grandparents will die, right? And so that for me, I was like, this is a marketing campaign. And I was like, what's 100%. It for? Right. And so that kind of freaked me out. And then I kind of started telling everybody, like, guys, like, something's up here. And I tried to warn people. And again, the propaganda machine had already started. So everyone was like, oh, you're crazy. Don't listen to Beau. And I started to lose my mind. And it got to the point where I was like screaming at the top of my lungs, and almost literally at times.
I get
it. And then I started to realize, oh my God, we are in a psychological operation right now, and I need to get just as strategic. And so that's when I started making content that was like funny, but like sinking messages in underneath, right? And try to like, break through that and get messages out to people. But that's kind of, I would say what started it all.
Did you know What's Her Face in Canada? That was her literal handle, What's Her Face.
Oh,
because she was doing a lot of comedic stuff too, and just like slip it in there and make it so outlandish that people are like, yeah, this is kind of crazy. So it was interesting how many content creators this whole thing has created for the betterment of humanity. And when you start to put it in certain language, like for me, I just got backlash because I was like so angry at the beginning, and I was just like cursing people out all the time, and it was just like anger. People are like, what's righteous anger? And like, regardless of what it is or was, because of what you just said, the psychological warfare, people were saying that I'm crazy and people are going to die because of the things that I'm saying and all that other stuff. So that was interesting for me, but I love to watch content creators that bring humor into it and stuff, because it does make a world of a difference. Rather than facing it all with anger, everyone that's in this freedom movement had their own angle of how they distributed this information. So it's like, pick your pleasure, whichever person, there were so many of us doing it, but I truly believe we're making a difference. And my world, and I'm sure your world, has gone in a completely different direction than what I was initially going. I was on a world tour and that ended, and then COVID happened. And now this is like my purpose, and I feel most alive now in this position that I'm in. And I'm not sure how you feel, but I also want to hear about like the food and how that has tied into your journey with all this.
For sure. Well, first of all, just on that note of purpose, I was taking this course with my mentor, and he said to me, like, what are the two things that are like the biggest challenges in your life? And so the first thing I said, which is what most people say, they're like money, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right. He said, what's the second thing? And I said, probably, being able to express my purpose and, really aligning myself with my purpose.
Yeah.
So he said, whatever you think the first thing is, it's caused by not doing the second thing. And I was like, oh, man,
Okay.
So when I was in the social media business, I really enjoyed it because I didn't work with like, every person. I really handpicked the people I was working with. And I really love to give a voice to people that felt voiceless. And that was what really inspired me. But over time, I think the industry started changing, and I decided to take a step back. And, I went to Brazil, I went to Mexico, to find myself for a couple months.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I did ayahuasca out there, and it was like, oh my God.
Wow.
So,
Okay.
and then when I came back, I was really struggling. I was broke. I was unhealthy, and then when all this stuff went down, I was like, oh my God, like I gotta get healthy now for sure, right?
Yeah.
And so I reached out to a buddy of mine that had always given me some really good advice online, and I asked him, how do I tie up my hair, to have maximum sunlight absorption, or what do you think about cannabis and all these different things? And one day I had this theory that like if my body could hold more electrical current, then I could have more currency, and then I would make more money. That was like the
I love
hypothesis.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So so I messaged him and I said, I asked him that question, what do you think I could do? And he says, well, this is what me and my friends usually eat. And so he sends me this this link, whatever. And I looked at it, and I knew two things when I looked at it. The first thing I knew was that if I buy this thing, like he's going to make some money from it. But I didn't care because, the guy had given me so much good advice before. And I knew that if I bought something from him, that I would be able to, ask him more questions, and he would have to answer because I'm a customer now, right?
Yeah.
So, but the second thing was that, if this is what this guy's eating, then it must be pretty damn great because he's like, wizard, this dude. And so anyways, I didn't have any money at the time. I had less than no money. People were, from when I closed my company, people were like asking me for money because things were, not settled yet. So I literally just went on Instagram and I said, can anyone give me $500? Right. It was about $500 Canadian. So, because of like $329 something US for this like 30-day, detox / cleanse /
You're making me interested in wanting to get it now.
So it's pretty great. But so I tried this thing out, and oh, sorry, what I was going to say first was I didn't have any money at all. And this person, I posted this online saying, who can give me $500? And an old high school friend of mine reached out to me. And I even said in the post, I said, like, please give me $500 and I'll work for it. I don't even have a job or anything. Like, if someone can just give me the money, I will work for it.
Yeah.
And he asked me what I was for, my old high school friend. And I told him, and he just sent me the money. He said, here, just take it, get better, And that's how I knew that. And well, I wouldn't say I knew then, but now looking back, pathways just open up for you when you're in alignment with your purpose, right?
Right.
And
right.
like that, the doors just opened. And he gave me that $500. I bought this stuff. And at first I didn't notice anything major, right? I was just taking it, and And you know, I call my buddy calls me. He's like, all right, let me introduce you to this stuff, and starts talking to me about it. And he's like, what kind of water are you drinking? I was like, I don't know, water, you know, from the tap. Right? He goes, stop drinking tap water.
Yes.
I was like, okay, whatever. I didn't know why he said that, but I was like, all right. And then he goes, you know, take this. And so I started taking this stuff, and all of a sudden I started having these really like strange experiences, right? Like, first of all, everyone's asking me, Beau, what are you doing? You know, what's your secret? How come you're like, you know, getting all this muscle and stuff like that?
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, okay. You know, I'm just taking this stuff.
Right.
But then, but I started having the weird experiences where, like, so I live in Toronto, where there's like a lot of homelessness there. And, you know, it's very common for people who are experiencing this lack of homes to come towards you and like ask you for stuff, right?
Yeah.
And to do it in a rather aggressive way. And so, and this has happened multiple times with multiple witnesses as well. So I'm not just like making this up or it's sounding weird, but like people would come up to me and they'd be angry and upset and just walking up to me like this. And I would close my eyes as if to feel so safe that I could be around these people with my eyes closed, which is, I don't necessarily always, but I would close my eyes and I would just feel so much love for that person. And when I'd open my eyes, they'd be looking at me, squinting as if they saw something bright, and then they would turn around and walk away. And this happened so many times in a row, to the point where even one time I did this, and the person from across the street, I opened my eyes and he was on the floor. I was like, what is this? What's going on here? This is like some like Jedi-like powers that I'm now experiencing, right?
Right.
And so I go back to my buddy. I'm like, what the hell did you give me here, man?
Right.
And, glyphosate is an herbicide that's sprayed over most non-organic foods.
Right. Okay. Yes.
So prior to becoming prior to getting into the food and agriculture industry, Monsanto, the company that's responsible for glyphosate, they were in the warfare business. So they were in Vietnam, defoliating trees with this chemical, so that they could see the snipers in the trees, right? So that the American soldiers could see the snipers. Once that was done, they had nowhere to go. So they're like, oh, next logical conclusion, I'm gonna get into food, right?
Right.
So how basically glyphosate works is they realize that for farmers, you have to spread the crops out pretty wide. And the reason why they do that is so that you can walk in between the crops and spray like a natural herbicide. You can even actually use urine as an herbicide, because the uric acid inside the urine will kill it.
Yeah.
So, but the thing is that when you put this herbicide on the plant, it will kill the plant. So they have to spread them out real wide and then just walk around and manually kill all the weeds. Because if you don't kill the weeds kill the crops. Mm-hmm. So what they decided to do instead was they decided to genetically modify the seed to be resistant to this herbicide, so that they could basically take all the crops, tighten them up together, and then just spray it all over the top. So it wouldn't kill the plants, but it would kill the herbicide or the weeds underneath, right? Mm-hmm. So now the farmers are making way more money. The work is like the workloads drop insanely, right? And so they say that this chemical is safe for humans because they say, well, it only targets the shikimate pathways, right? And so that's true. Human beings don't have shikimate pathways. However, the bacteria in our gut do. And the bacteria in our gut are essential for breaking down nutrients, for our immune system, for our the chemicals in our brain, like serotonin and things like that, required for our mental health. It also causes damage to the intestines, which is giving so many people across the world leaky gut, right? Mm-hmm. And with leaky gut, you're also getting a whole bunch of other things like allergies, because we're not properly digesting that food. It's going into our bloodstream directly. Our body sees it as a foreign pathogen and starts to release histamines, right? And so if you ask your grandparents, hey, what was allergies like back in the day? They'd be like, what the hell do you mean? We didn't have allergies, right? Yep. They had polio, right? Because they were spraying DDT all over everybody, right? And that was paralyzing people. And they tried to say, oh, it's this virus thing. Like, no, it's the fact that you're spraying chemicals all over children in pools and everywhere, right?
Right.
So now glyphosate is the modern day DDT, but they're just putting it in our food. They don't have to put it on any ingredients lists. They can just put it at the farm level, and once you start eating it, it's in your body and it gets stuck there. So basically what he said was that these little capsules that he was giving me, they're called Biomedic. And basically it's a pre and probiotic, but which is just good for digestion and bacteria in your gut in general. But this particular brand has also been clinically proven to reduce glyphosate from the body by up to 74% in 6 weeks, while still eating a standard American diet, and upwards of 90% if you're eating organic, right?
Wow. Okay.
So I started taking this stuff, and what most people don't know, and they teach this a lot in Ayurvedic medicine, that we have three brains. We have the head brain, the heart brain, and the gut brain. Now, the part of those three brains that has the most neuron-like cells is actually the gut, right? And so when people say, well, trust your gut, what are they saying? Trust your instincts. That's why so many people's instincts are totally destroyed right now. They have no awareness.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yep.
And so what happened with me is when I got that gut health back, I started to get my instincts back. And my instincts was what I thought was survival. I thought my instincts was this survival instinct. I thought that's what life was all about, right? But when they started to come back, it was like I finally recovered and realized that my instincts were actually to be creative, right? We're here to create. We're here to learn how to manipulate energy and create things into matter as we see fit, right? Yeah. And more people that understand that, the less power the elite have. And so they want us to be dulled down and, you know, our gut health to be destroyed. But the more we get our real instincts back that we're here to create, you know, you're not going to see anybody commit a crime when they feel like, you know, they can create any reality they want.
Right.
If they have any amount of money they want, they're going to create it. Right.
Yes. My posts have been about that the last week. I mean, I've been speaking about it a lot, but I'm trying to explain to people, and that gets the least amount of engagement. They prefer me to act like a lunatic and scream and yell rather than talk about consciousness, which is the key to everything. Once people understand that we're programmed, once people understand this whole matrix thing, like everything comes crumbling down. And people don't want to hear about it because it's not familiar to them. It's not mainstream. You know, I mean, there's a lot of people like in the freedom movement, and you know this too, that they only will report on the things that are on the mainstream news and then give you the opposing view of it. And it's like, this is exactly what they want. You're feeding the system that you're trying to break away from.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. I mean, so I have family members that are pretty much whatever the news says is what they believe, right?
Yeah.
And so my whole thing is like, I'm trying not to just think about whatever the opposite is, because usually it is the opposite of whatever I see on TV. Not every single time.
Yeah.
But when I see that, I think to myself, like, okay, if I can find peace, if I can find middle ground, if I can find that love connection between myself and those family members, then we'll be unstoppable. Though they won't be able to mess with us at all. Right. And so that's always my goal, funny enough.
Right. So what is your company now? Like, where are you selling? Like, what's available? Like, I want to just be able to get this out to people. Or is it up and running yet?
Yeah. So I've partnered with a company out of California, right? And we've been doing this now I've been doing it now for about 2 years, right? The company itself has been active for 7. And the founders that have been creating these products have been doing it for about 25 to 30 years, right? Wow. So the founder of this organization, his name is Dave Sandoval, and he used to be mentored by a woman named Ann Wigmore. And Ann Wigmore was a woman that was, you know, I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, but she was like curing people's cancer with wheatgrass.
You can say whatever you want on this anyway. Yeah.
Okay, cool. But I just don't want to make any claims, right?
Of course.
but that's what she was doing. Now, if you look up Anne Wigmore right now on Wikipedia, you'll see that they're going to call her a quack. They're going to call her this. She was curing people's cancer with wheatgrass, right? And so he worked directly under her, and incredible individual, this man. Like, you know, I went to meet him in California, and you know, got to see the factories and how they do what they do and why they do what they do. Incredible stuff. You know, the stories that I was hearing about people's healing, especially with people with autism, right? Unbelievable things. Like, you know, this one woman was talking about her son and her father, and her son and her husband, actually, they both have autism. And her one son was 8 years old and had never slept a full night in his entire life, right?
Wow.
And, you know, they even moved out to the country to get less stimulation, because, you know, a lot of times with people on the spectrum, there's overstimulation is a big thing. So they took him out to the country. Still nothing worked, right? They had maybe just a couple bucks left in their bank account, and they used it to buy this transformation program that we sell. And within 3 days, he had slept through the night for the first time in his entire life, right? Because, not to say that autism is completely controlled by diet, but it is majorly impacted by it, right? And so eating organic is hugely essential, you know. You know, that's the biggest thing that we can do, right? And so for me, I had started my own social media business before. I started it from scratch, and it was great because, you know, I had full control of everything, and it was great. But one thing I learned, and I think this is important to share, and I know this might sound kind of like, you know, educational rather than entertainment, but I think it's really important. The way that business owners think is extremely different than the way that employees think. It's really not even just a different mindset. It's like a whole paradigm shift, right? Like, and so especially for people that have had jobs their whole lives, if you get introduced to business for the first time, it's like, what are you talking about? Most people get into business for the first time, they actually aren't getting into business. They're getting into self-employment. And self-employment is different than business, right? Yeah. And so I was taking this incubator course, and one of my mentors recommended this book. And the book is called The E-Myth by Michael Gerber, or The Entrepreneur by Michael Gerber. And I highly recommend that, like, everyone checks out this book. If not the book, at least the YouTube summary, okay?
Yeah.
But, you know, the E-Myth is so important because it basically says that every single business has three parts to it. It has the entrepreneur, the manager, and the technician. So it has the person growing the business, moving it forward and building the systems. It has the person doing the work, which is the technician, and then the manager kind of acting as the bridge between the two. And so what most people do is they leave their job as the technician to then go and start their own business, thinking that they're going to make more money because they're like, well, I'm doing all the work anyways, right? And so, but then they get into their own business where they're self-employed, and now they have three jobs because it's unavoidable. They have three jobs for the same price, the same pay or less than they were getting from their other job, right? And now those same arguments that they would have with their boss, they're having with themselves in their own head, and they're burning out very fast. Right. Because it's like, oh, well, the boss will say, well, we need to do this. We need to move it forward. We need to try this. And then the other part of you is like, well, that's not what the people want, because I know the people, I talk to the people every day. So, you know, kind of like what you're experiencing with your content, right? It's like, I know things need to shift, but the way I'm here living it, so I know that's different too. So again, this is something really important that when I finally finished reading this book, I literally started crying, tears, because, you know, if I had not been as stubborn as I was, and I kind of wish I wasn't, because like I spent so many years like just totally messed up. Like I was, you know, abusing drugs like crazy, and, you know, burning out all the time. I would sleep until 5 p.m. and just not talk to anyone for weeks. You know, It was really bad. And when I read this book, I realized why that was. And of course, there's like Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki, which is a classic. But this particular one, The E-Myth by Michael Gerber, once I read it, I understood everything. And I started to create organizational infrastructures where I had myself at the top. I started hiring team members and managers, and I had them bringing their people on too. And I started to build this out, and it was a lot of work. Like I was like, you know, building out customer relationship management tools and doing all these different things. So when I decided to start a new business, I was like, I need something that is systemized, because that's what the book talks about. And I said, I need something systemized. And I also, when I did ayahuasca, I had this experience where I basically turned into this old man. And I was like, old and sad and lonely and bitter. And then I would die. I'd become a baby. I would grow into an old man where I was sad, alone, angry, and bitter. I'd die. And this literally kept happening. It felt like 1,000 times that I had like lived a whole lifetime, died, came back, died, came back. And when I said to the ayahuasca spirit, I said, when is this going to end? And she said to me, never. And I was like, never, like, oh my God. It was so brutal. And when I got out of that, so you have to go in with like an intention or a question when you do ayahuasca. And my question was like, you know, what's the deal with me and money? You know, because I know that sounds like a superficial thing, but I had done all the other spiritual stuff before, and I wanted to know this time, what's the deal with money? You know, so because I thought at this point it might be something spiritual. So the lesson that I got from that was, if you're going to do this again, if you're going to make some money, you got to do it in a way that involves other people, right? Because when I was doing, and so one way that you can share it with people, right? And so when I was doing social media, it was great, but I was kind of the only one at the top. It was very lonely, right?
Right.
And so, and the way that the world is shifting right now too, things are changing quite a bit, because back in the day in the industrial age, you know, you'd have like companies like GM or Ford where they would employ hundreds of thousands of people, right? You know, if not millions across the world, right? And nowadays you have companies like Google and Facebook where it's a couple thousand of them for a company that manages billions of people.
Yep.
So the jobs, with the technocracy that we're experiencing, the jobs are just shrinking, and there's getting less and less and less and less. So I'm thinking to myself, like, if everybody is a consumer and nobody is working, how are we going to earn any money, right? So as I'm a firm believer of, I don't sell anything unless I use it myself, right? So I have this saying where I tell people, you know, get paid for the things you pay for, right?
Yeah.
Because if you're paying for something, then it means you know the value of it, and you know how to articulate that value to somebody else. And, you know, the reality is we're already advertising all the products we use as it is, right? Yep. If you were to actually get a check from every Nike that was sold, when someone asked you, hey, where'd you get those Nike shoes? You said, I got them at. If every time they tracked how that kind of expanded after you told that one person and they paid you a commission on that, you'd be rich, right? So what I realized was, like, not only do I want to start a business that is already systemized, I want to do something that involves doing it with other people. And I want to do something that kind of creates like a consumer union of some kind, where we're saying, like, instead of paying all this money to advertisers, which I knew in the past was essentially nothing more than brainwashing, right? I want to create a system that we just literally take all those millions of dollars and redistribute it back to the consumers, and say, if you are using these products, if you're sharing these products, you know, I mean, you already experienced this doing affiliates, right? If you are affiliated with the product, you should be getting paid for it. I think everybody should be doing affiliate marketing. Everybody, because as consumers, we are some of the biggest advertisers. So that's why I got into this business, because I was in I did this one, like, it wasn't even a business, I wouldn't even call it that, but there was like a social media site that was coming out for entrepreneurs. And they started to track like not just one level down, but like several levels down of like what you were actually doing. And they said it's a free sign up your friends, and then when this social media thing goes big, then we'll share the success with you guys or whatever. Anyways, I shared it with 40 friends, and I didn't even think about it. A week later, I checked the account, and after 7 days, there was 340 people in my organization. Wow. I was like, whoa. And that's the first time really like visually seen that what I call the echo of my influence, right? Because as influencers too, we see the one level, right?
Yeah.
On occasion, we might see the second, but if you're really tracking every level down, holy, you'd be shocked, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, even the last, like, it's crazy because I started working this business 2 years ago, but in the last 5 or 6 months, and I would say actually since I've gotten sober, because I'm completely sober now, like things have just totally started to shift. And I'm seeing that ripple. I was at a gym and I was talking to this gym about, you know, getting these products in their store or in their gym. And they're like, oh, somebody was telling me about this. I said, who was telling you about it? They're like, oh, this girl named Robin. I said, Robin, and I said her last name. She's like, yeah. I was like, that girl's on my team. I said, but she's 6 levels down. I've never met her in my life. And so I told the gym, I said, you better sign up with me today. I said, because if you don't, your whole gym's going to be on my team anyway. You might as well get a cut of this. Right.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I started to get into that, like multi-level, or like what most people call network marketing. And to be honest, I had done network marketing in the past and I had failed miserably at all of them. Like I was just sucked at it. Only person I ever sold anything to was my mom. I think that was about it. And, but the reason why I got excited about this was because even when I gave up, I never stopped taking the products because I loved them, first of all. And I started to realize, especially now, that where the world is at right now, it could actually be one of the best things to get people into the mindset of business. And the reason why is because the cool thing about network marketing is that it gamifies the entire process of building a business. So they'll say, do this for points, do this for money, get this cash bonus if you do this. And every single one of those things is guiding you towards building an organization. And so you do it for the points, but at the end of it, you have this business. And that's great because a lot of people don't know business. And that's why a lot of people, when they see network marketing for the first time, they look at it and they go, oh, this must be a scam. I said, no, this is business laid out for you. And I said, you know, it's really hard for people to wrap their heads around this. But I think a lot of people, they think, well, there's only 2 ways to make money. I either work really hard, which you should work really hard. It actually does help. That's still true. But you can be more systemized and also work smart while you're working hard. And the second thing is that people think that the only way they can hire people is if they do it unethically. So I can only leverage someone else's time if I do it unethically. Right. And so with network marketing, because it's all based around your own efforts, and don't get me wrong, there's some trash network marketing companies out there, just like business. So you got to choose the right business. So, but it's the type of thing that you only earn money when you actually earn the money, right? And so there's no room for unethically leveraging someone else's time. It doesn't work that way. And I think that's where a lot of people don't like it, because they finally see what their true value is. And they go, whoa, I'm not making any money. It's like, because you're not doing anything, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
But yeah, I love the idea of it because it's just, in my opinion, I think this is going to be the new way that people are doing business nowadays, learning business. It's going to be like going to school for business, but you earn while you learn. And I think it's going to create so much freedom around the world. And it's going to be the most ascended way of doing business. And that's why I'm so excited about it.
Absolutely. We only have about 2 minutes left, but I just want to know, like, where we could find your company, what the name of it is, or how we could purchase, anything that you would want people to know.
Yeah. So we call our stuff the Liquid Sunshine with our ultimate transformation. But you can just visit me on Instagram at Beau Pinto. It's Beau spelled like beautiful, B-E-A-U, and Pinto like the car, the bean, or the horse. And if you click the link in my bio, all of the information is there on where to get it. Or you can send me a DM if you have any questions, and be happy to answer them there.
I'm definitely going to DM you about this. We'll chat off of here because I'm super interested. And I love getting involved in new things, and I love to share information with people. And then you always have people that are like, oh, you're a patriot and all this other stuff. And it's like, no, I'm a smart individual that actually likes to inform people about things that can heal them, heal their bodies holistically. If you don't
Mhm.
like it, take a walk. I mean, people that are selling anything, like this is the way business is. This is marketing. This is, it's crazy the way people perceive things. And you pretty much explained it that way of how people think of employment. But through these screens, like this is where people spend the most of their time. So that's where you're going to grow a business if you're smart.
Mhm.
And at the same time, like help people heal actually, and not ram pharmaceuticals down people's throats or anything else, because I know there's so many influencers out there that'll do anything for a paycheck. And I know that you nor I am one of those people. I would not ever promote a product that I would not take myself. I'm obsessed with healing, and I gluten-free, vegan, the whole nine, everything. So it's like, I want people to feel as good as I feel. So I'm
Exactly.
excited to learn about your products as well. And
Thank you.
see what
Yeah.
we
I mean,
can do.
one last thing I just want to say is that that's
Yeah.
our mission essentially, is to heal as many people as possible
Yeah.
and just drain money out of the pharmaceutical industry. We already have some people on our team that don't take diabetes medication anymore, right?
Wow. Yeah.
Drain people that pharmaceutical money away from the pharmaceutical industry and also redistribute that money back to the people, so that by the time they realize what we've done, that they don't have to hire the army, and we have more power than they could ever imagine. So that's our
Love
mission.
it. Love it. Thank you so much for joining. I would love to do an Instagram live with you too, to talk about this more on that platform. So we'll hook that up. And it was wonderful chatting with you. I know it's like short, but we're doing half-hour sessions now. So we'll do a more extensive version of this over on Instagram.
Amazing. Thank you so much for having me. Honestly, I'm fangirling a little bit here, just being able to talk. All my friends are going to be jealous about this. I'm telling you, like, I have so many people that like absolutely love you, by the way. So.
Oh, thank you. But this is only the beginning. So I love and enjoy helping people, and then helping people grow their business in any way that I can, because there's enough abundance in this world for everybody. Thank you guys for watching Krystal Tini TV. If you haven't signed up for our email list regarding my Nourish My Soul Retreat, it's going to be in January 27th, 2023 in Tulum, Mexico. I cannot tell you how excited I am about this, and I can't wait to see all of your faces there in person for a weekend together in one of the most beautiful places I've ever seen. We have some really amazing speakers. And it's not like a yoga retreat, it's a rebalancing, it's a soul rebalancing retreat. So I'll be teaching yoga in the mornings, but there will be all different courses that are going to help nourish your soul. So I'm super excited about it. Thank you for joining, and I will see you guys next week for Krystal Tini TV. We are connected.
Hey, how's it going? Give me 1 second.
Hi.